Hi dear students and listeners, I am Nigina Xalimova, a lecturer of Tourism and Hotel Department of Bucharest State University. Today, we will make a small introduction to the subject Organization and Management of Hotel Services, and we start itself from our first topic, namely the goals and objectives of the subject and functions, features and classification of excursion services. And we will start it from 5 plans. The first plan is the goals and objectives of the subject, the content and essence of the subject. Excursion service as a form of communication and pedagogical process. The next one, functions and features of excursion services. And the last one is classification of excursion services. As every subject, organization and management of excursion services has its own purposes and objectives in front of its listeners and students. And this subject also has its own purposes. For instance, it will explain to the listeners the essence of excursion services, the content, function, classification of excursion services. It will teach professional guides the requirements before the leader of the excursion services, namely guide. For instance, how to behave in front of individual or group of people, how to tell, how to describe the information, how to show it, the narration process, which type of materials bring with himself during excursion service, and how to behave near all group. The next one is it teaches the tour preparation technology. For instance, how to start, where to start the excursion service, where to finish it, how much time it takes for each object to show it, to narration process, and etc. The next one, it will train the role of excursion service and the procedure of conducting test excursion service. And the last one is it helps to identify the ways to select the object, evaluate, demonstrate, and narrate object in excursion services. Namely, it will help to select object, which object is to select, which object is equal to the text, to the topic of excursion, and etc. Before starting the lesson, we should pay attention to the basic terms related to our topic. Not also the topic, but also the subject itself. It will help to know, to understand the subject itself fully. For instance, we have 4 basic terms related to our topic. The term tourism, excursion, tourist, and excursionist. They have their own similarities and differences. And before, we should pay attention to the law on tourism, which helps us to know them, to understand these basic terms related to our topic. And now, we will start it from the term tourist. Who is a tourist? As a law on tourism that was released in 18th July 2019 states that tourist is an individual who goes to the country of temporary stay for the period of 24 hours to 12 consecutive months, or spends at least 1 night at the country of temporary stay without being engaged in the activities that related to earning income. And let's pay attention to the term excursionist. Who is excursionist? He is an individual traveling in the country of temporary stay for the period not exceeding 24 hours. It means a person who wants to be an excursionist should spend only 1 day without staying at the country of temporary stay. And the next term is tourism. What is tourism? It's the departure from the place of permanent stay without being engaged in the activities related to earning income from the source in the country of temporary stay. It means tourism is a procedure of tourists people or individuals going to the country of temporary stay who stays there starting from 1 day till 12 months. And the next term is excursion. We made to conclude that the term excursion means departure of individual from the place of permanent residence for the period not exceeding 24 hours without being engaged in activities earning income. And let's conclude these 4 terms. In order to be tourism, or if individual wants to be a tourist, he or she should spend in the country of temporary stay starting from 24 hours till 12 consecutive months. And it is the big difference between the term tourism and tourist and excursion and excursionist. And these terms have one big similarity. It is not being engaged in the activities that helps individuals to earn income. It means if people go to the country and if people want to be tourists or excursionists, they shouldn't earn any income. They shouldn't work there. If they want to work or if they are engaged in the activities that help them to earn money, to earn income, it will be not tourism. It will be just working in that country. And if a person wants to be tourist, he or she should stay there more than 1 day till 12 months. If it's more than 12 months, it will be not tourism. It will be just living in that country. Now, we should pay attention to the meaning of the word excursion. What is excursion itself? From the childhood, we know that in the school time, we go to the excursion with our classmates and with our teachers from different subjects. For instance, from history, we learn historical buildings and historical sites related to our country or city. From the biology, we go some places to understand the nature or to learn some type of trees or ecological places. Or from mathematics, we go to the excursion places to learn the construction of some buildings. And we may understand that the term excursion is related to the process that is connected with somehow traveling. It is just traveling to another place or another city or another country. And the most important feature of excursion should be the combination of demonstration and storytelling, namely narration process. If there will be absence of one procedure. For instance, if there is no demonstration, just storytelling, it will be just a boring lecture, not excursion. For this reason, we mainly pay attention, as a professional guide, we mainly pay attention to these combination of these 2 processes. So, during the excursion process, we use 2 types of communication, namely direct and indirect communication. What is direct communication? Firstly, direct communication is communicating or talking or having conversation directly with somebody without any means that helps us to communicate with him. And in direct communication, the usage of some means in order to have conversation with somebody. So there can be a big question, how we can communicate or have conversation indirectly with people, namely with travelers, with tourists and with excursionists. Let's start with the first one, direct communication. Direct communication includes conversation, lectures, lessons, discussions, telephone calls, and excursion services. So, during excursion, we mainly talk directly with travelers and tourists. So, in indirect communication, we mainly use some means that make more colorful, more interesting our excursion service. For instance, guide portfolio. Guide portfolio includes several kinds of materials, for instance, photo materials, video materials, maps, herbariums, and etc. Everything, every details that makes our excursion more colorful. So, we can conclude that during excursion service, we use direct and indirect communication types in order to make more interesting and enhance our excursion service. So, the next one. Before understanding the function of excursion service, we should know the meaning of the word function. What is the function itself? The function of a purpose of thing or a person. For instance, as students, you dear listeners have your own function. You should be on time for the lessons. You shouldn't be late for the lectures. You should listen carefully to your teachers. You should make all homework that your teachers gave you. So, for instance, just simple pen has its own function. It is to write or draw something. So, excursion service has own its main functions, and now we will see them. So, overall, there are 5 functions of excursion services. It's namely scientific, informational, organizational of cultural recreation, formation of interest, broadening cultural outlook. So, we will start from the first one. What is scientific function of excursion service? So, during each excursion service, we will learn some scientific knowledge. For instance, if you go to excursion, or if as a professional guide, if we have a group of travelers, we mostly should give them the knowledges that are related to some spheres. For instance, mathematics, biology, history, archaeology, and etc. If we go to the historical objects, historical buildings, firstly, we should give them information related to mathematics, how this building was constructed, and the purpose of construction, the details, the materials that was used in these excursion objects. Or if you go to manufacturing objects, for instance, to some factories, we should show them how these materials or fabric or the product of this organization was made of, and etc. Every detailed information that is related to some sphere, some knowledge, or some subject. The next one is informational function of excursion service. It is the most common function of excursion service, as it is used in any travel and it's given by any guide. For instance, basic information related to excursion object. How this excursion object was built, why it was built, when it was built, and by whom it was built. Just basic information given by professional guide to travelers. The next one is organization of cultural recreation. So, any traveler, any tourist or excursionist, firstly have big purpose of traveling. He has his own purpose, just having a rest. And as the combination of guide tours during their holidays, it will give them some cultural recreation. They simultaneously have a rest and they will have basic cultural information related to that place. For instance, some religion, some culture, some place. And the next one is formation of interest. At first sight, tourists may seem that they are not interested in historical sites, for instance. And by giving information, professional guides make them more interested in that building, and after going their home they will search for information about this building or about the people that constructed this building. So they have some interest, they burn some interest inside them. This is called like a formation of interest. And the last one is broadening cultural worldview. What does it mean? After gaining a lot of information related to one place or one object, for instance, after gaining basic information, after gaining scientific information, after giving some kind of knowledge about one building or place, we automatically broaden our worldview, our outlook. So this is the main function of excursion service. Now we should pay attention to the features of excursion service. What does it mean? Which aspects should contain any excursion in order to be excursion service? Not tourism, not travel. So firstly, duration of time. As we as we saw before, the duration of time should be 1 academic hour, starting from 1 academic hour till 1 day. It means till 24 hours in order to be excursion. For instance, during our studies at university or any kind of organization, if we go with our classmates to some kind of excursion to another place, we should spend only 1 day without staying a night in this place, and starting from 24 minutes, it means 1 academic hour. The next one is availability of excursion object. If there is no excursion object, it will not be excursion, just boarding lecture. For that reason, we say that the main function of excursion is combination of demonstration and narration process. The next one is the presence of group of tourists. In order to be excursion, there should be one individual, one tourist, or the group of tourists. So the presence of excursion object. How we want to show an excursion object if there is no any place, no any object. For that reason, there should be object, guide, group of tourists, the duration of time. The next one is getting acquainted with excursion objects with the help of some kind of transportation or just going on foot. And the next one is, the last one, the presence of a specific scene that determines the direction of the tour. It means if you want to conduct an excursion, we should name it and we should have a topic. For instance, it can be historical, it can be military, it can be manufacturing objects, and etc. So, the next one is classification of excursion services. All types of excursion services can be classified according to several characteristics. For instance, according to the content, according to the composition of participants, according to the place, according to a form, according to a duration, and according to a means of movement. So the first one is according to content. It means according to topic or theme of excursion. It can be historical, military historical, manufacturing objects, cultural, literary, and architectural monument. Let's take example, manufacturing object. For instance, if you go to manufacturing object, you can get acquainted with its products and with its working process. So today, the content of our excursion is manufacturing objects. If it will be historical, we mainly get acquainted with the historical side of object, and etc. And the next one is according to the composition of participants. It means each category of travelers. For instance, for young children, for school children, for older people, for local people, for foreign guests, and for the disabled. Why we should pay attention to the age category of travelers? Because the information that is given by professional guide differs according to the age category of tourists. For instance, for school children, for young children, we give some kind of information that is not equal to the information that we give for foreign tourists. And it's same for local population. For local population, we give broad information that includes every detail that is related to excursion object. For foreign tourists, we mainly give basic information that can be understandable for them. And it's without the age category. And the next one is according to the place. According to the place, excursion process can be in the city, outside the city, in manufacturing companies, in museums, in cultural or religious places, and in nature. It means according to the place of excursion, we can choose clothes for ourselves, we can choose the topic of excursion, and we can choose the composition of participants. And the next one is according to the form of excursion. It can be simple, study, advertising, excursion lecture, and excursion concert. For instance, for a simple type of excursion, we give only basic information related to the objects. In order, if it's excursion service like a study, we should give information related to some sphere. For instance, mathematics, history, ecology, and etc. And the next one is according to the means of movement. It can be on foot by the usage of various kinds of transportation and combined. For instance, in some places we go just on foot, in some places by bicycle, by bus, by plane, and etc. And in some places we use just both of them, like on foot and various kinds of transportation. So this is the end of our lesson. I hope that it will be influential for your future. Thank you.